Hello and welcome back to a new video. Now this is a very special video for me in that this is my 1,000 subscriber special. And I want to thank every one of you who has watched, subscribed, and interacted in the comments. I wouldn't have gotten here without you all, so thank you all so much. But most importantly, I want to thank my wife who has been nothing but super supportive throughout this whole journey with me. She's been my biggest cheerleader throughout all of this. So thank you so much for your support, honey, and I love you very much. Now, before I introduce the special project for this episode, I do want to take this moment to talk a little about myself. I fixed, and I use that term pretty loosely, my first game console back in the early 2000s. Anyone who's owned one of those early fat PS2s will remember the infamous disc read error. Now, mine is a launch model, so I got it pretty quickly. The internet showed directions on adjusting and cleaning the laser, and I did that and got it working for the most part at the time. Now remember, this is the days before you could order literally anything online, so lasers weren't available, and that was just what we had to do back in those days. Now fast forward to the pandemic, I worked an office job that laid me off because of COVID, and as the pandemic wore on, I started slipping into a really deep depression with the lack of a job and nothing to do because of the lockdowns. I still have my broken game consoles, specifically my NES and my PS2, and decided I wanted to get them working. I did the NES first, and when it came to the PS2, I decided to grab my camera and put my film degree to good use and document what I learned and what I did to get it working, and threw it on YouTube privately to basically gauge my friends' reactions. And I was happy to see it was positive. Now at the same time, with my itch not satisfied for repairing consoles, I bought one, and then another, and I started recording more and more and decided to upload what I learned to the world in hopes it helps someone. I figured if I helped one person fix their console, I did my job. Never would I have thought that the comments would be flooded with people thanking me for helping them, and people just tuning in to see me start with something broken and have it working in the end. And now we are here at 1,000 subscribers, so thank you all again. Now, for the project of this video, let me introduce the Panasonic 3DO. I bought this several months ago from someone on one of my retro gaming groups I'm part of on Facebook. Now, I did travel a great distance for this, and it is in fantastic shape. I don't know if it reads discs or anything like that, because there is no video signal whatsoever coming from this thing. But the disk drive opens, and it does power up, so that's a good start. So I guess all we can do is crack this baby open and see what we find. So just to kind of show what we're dealing with here, I got the TV on, it's plugged in and everything. So we'll just hit the power button. So you see we got a light. And it opens. Actually, it opens very good. So we'll see if we have anything coming from the TV. Like in terms of audio or anything like that, like if it gets to a menu.
A few moments later.
Okay, we got some kind of audio coming through. I mean, I kind of wish I could see what's going on. Maybe we jiggle the video, maybe something. Yeah, no, we got nothing. So I am curious if the disk drive works. Now that we have audio, we can at least hear what's going on. I did pick up a game, Syndicate, for this system. This is a game I've always wanted to play. I was a very big fan of Syndicate Wars back in the day. So I figured, like, why not get the original? So let's see if this will read a disc. We should be able to hear something at least. All right. I'm assuming that's Syndicate that's playing right now, but we'll obviously have to see when it's fixed. But I mean, this is very promising so far. So it looks like we have only 4 screws to get in here, 1 on each of the corners, so I guess we'll just take them out. Ah, not deep enough, must go deeper. Love to see what's going on with that one. Yeah, it felt like it was binding up there for a second. Whoa! Jeez, that just really popped out there. Alright. Let's see what we're looking at in here. Well, I think first things first is I'm gonna get some pictures of this because I've never opened one of these before, so I just want to make sure everything that I take apart is going to go back in the right spot. But I do definitely want to get the disk drive off, and it looks like there's only 4 screws possibly holding it on. So we'll see if I'm right on this. So far, I do have to say the inside of this thing's pretty clean, which is pretty surprising to me. I would have thought there'd be a little more dust or something in here, considering it's from 1993. So we're going on, what, 30 years now? 31 years? But I guess we'll see when we get a little deeper in. Alright, so I didn't notice the sticker on the disk drive at first, but it looks like it was manufactured in May of 1994, and I'm recording this video in the middle of June 2024, so this thing just turned 30 years old. So it does appear I can shimmy the shielding off. It looks like there's just these tabs that just sit it into the disk drive. And then, yep, there's some tabs in the back and it just slides off. So that was nice and easy. Doesn't look like there's any clasps or anything, so yeah, these just slide right out. Man, these are so much thicker than ribbon cables you get on modern consoles. So we'll just set this aside. I am going to put the cover back on this, just because this is going to be stored for a little while. So next I just want to remove the power and the eject button. So this top shielding looks like we're held on by several screws, which we're going to remove. Before we do, actually it does look like somebody's been in here before. What I kind of see is evidence of like a cleaning, kind of. That's probably why it's like so clean on the inside. And now that I think about it, actually the person I bought it from, I think they did say that the person that they got it from was tinkering on the inside here and was trying to get it to work, but they couldn't get it to work. So yeah, that all actually makes sense now. So let's just get these screws out. Screws are also coming out very easily. They're not like, I'm not getting that kind of like snap you usually get when you're opening the console up the first time. Right here in the middle. And miss one next to this big capacitor. Okay, we loose now? No. Looks like we got 2 more over here. I thought they were holding something else down, but they are attached. Okay, maybe taking these 2 screws out will get this free. Okay, so shield goes down, and then this piece, it appears, goes on top. So yeah, just something for me to remember when trying to get this back together. Oh wow, I'm loving the way this motherboard looks. Like, these chips are so chunky. It's such a throwback to another era. I love it. That's why I like working on these these much older consoles. But anyway, so what I'm kind of looking at here is we got a bunch of capacitors here, and this is pretty much where I'm leaning towards where the issue might lie. I mean, these are 30-year-old capacitors at this point, so the chances of one of them being failed is pretty good, especially there's quite a lot of them. But I think my personal opinion is I think that the issue that we're going to be dealing with is somewhere towards the tail end here on the board, because we have sound, so the left and the right channel whatever components are on there are functioning properly. But I am seeing the yellow here, the connector, for the video channel. And we got this component that I need to look up what exactly that is. I just don't recognize it. But then we have these three capacitors. I don't know if they're linked to it. I'm gonna have to pull up the schematic to see exactly where, because I'm gonna, basically what I'm thinking is working forward back and seeing if maybe something failed there. But what I could do is just start testing the capacitors, which is what I think I'm gonna do, just because that's my hunch of what the issue is. So I guess really the next thing we can do is just continue tearing down and get the board out of here so we can test them. Alright, so first things first, unplug all this crap here. This is such a cute little fan. I love it. We'll just put you back where you were. Then I'll unplug the controller port daughter board from the main board. Oh, and that actually just slides right out, so hell with it, we'll just take it out now. Yeah, we got a little friend in there. I don't see any evidence of this having any kind of infestation unlike that PS3 I worked on. I think this is just a lone guy that kind of found his way in here, and that was the end of him. Got one screw here by the cute little fan. It looks like we have one screw here. And then this shielding can just come out. All right, and then the last thing that's holding us up from getting the board out of here is this light bar here for the LEDs. So I do see how to get that off, and I'll show that right now. So it looks like we got two tabs holding us in. Try not to block the way with my fat head. And that just comes right out. All right, we should be free now. Great. All right, so I'm just gonna set the rest of the chassis aside for now. I think we will tear it down a little bit further to give it a nice good clean, because this is going in my own personal collection, so I want this to be pristine before it's ready for prime time. So we'll just set this aside for now, and then we'll just focus here on the board. So I'm kind of going over this board here, and I've been looking at it for a few minutes. I don't see any physical damage to the board at all. I mean, I really should be looking at it under the microscope, but I don't feel like grabbing it at the moment, but just kind of doing a quick visual inspection. Yeah, I'm not seeing any broken solder joints or anything. And we're on the back side here. It's kind of looking at the area around the AV port. Yeah, I don't see any broken solder joints there that could be impeding how it's working. Kind of a little tough to trace here, the traces. Just want to see if it gets to these capacitors. I apologize, this is as close as I'm going to get to all in. And just zero this out one more time. I've already zeroed it out like 4 times. It's good if capacitor is less than 47 microfarads. Now I did not look at what the value was of this. It is 47 microfarads at 6.3 volts. Let's test that again. Okay, so the ESR I'm reading on this is, sorry again you can't see it, 1.57. I'll bring you in on a different one, but this is a 6.3 volts at 47 microfarads. So let's take a look at the ESR meter here. Standard worst case is 2.2 at 10 volts. But it's saying good if capacitance is less than 47 microfarads. So I think this capacitor could possibly be bad. Alright, let's test the next one. Let me just zero this out again. Yeah, we got 1.54. 20 volt ECAP. Good if capacitance is less than. I'm just going to zero it out again. Let's test this one. Got 1.58. Again, good if capacitance is less than 47 microfarads. So I'm going to see if I can pull up an ESR, a more accurate ESR chart, because this doesn't go all the way down. So I decided to take a different approach on this, and I did pull up the schematic so I knew exactly what I was looking at. So I trace it from the connection. Now the schematic I'm looking at is not for this motherboard revision. I was trying to find the exact schematic for this particular motherboard revision. The number is subtitled below, but it's saying C503 for the composite video capacitor. Now, none of the numbers were matching up on this board for any of the capacitors, so obviously this is a very different revision. But I did grab, and this is what I noticed the same on every composite video on all the schematics I looked at. It was 6.3, 470 microfarads. So I started tracing back a little bit on the board itself. So right here is where the ribbon cable for the video is. And if I trace the trace, it goes right to it. And then if I trace the trace going to the connector, it goes to this capacitor here. And for this particular motherboard, it is C630. So now let's flip it over and we'll give it a test. The negative lead is right here. I'm zeroed out on the ESR meter. And what we're reading is 0.259, reference for 25 volt ECAP, good if capacitance is less than 330. So this is a 470 microfarad, and even at 10 volts, the worst case scenario is 0.24. So I actually think that this particular capacitor is bad. So I just want to verify it, so we'll pull out the microscope and the desoldering gun. We'll take this out and test it with the multimeter just to double check, and then we'll figure it out from there. So we got C630 right here. It's going to flux it up a little bit. Definitely brought the microscope down a little too far. It's actually kind of difficult to use the desoldering gun. Put the microscope lens in the way. Doesn't look like it's out. Viewer actually suggested that I flux up the wick as well, that it helps it flow. I did it a couple times. It actually does seem to work. So we're going to do it again here. I think we're free. Okay, so we got the capacitor out, so next thing we gotta do is test it. Okay, set this to capacitance. Black to negative. Red to positive. See what we get. It's saying 13. Yep. Let's try it again. Yeah, it's not reading anything. This capacitor is definitely bad. Okay, let me go in my bag of tricks here and see if I have a replacement capacitor on hand. If not, I will have to order it. And we are back. I got the new parts in. It's a full kit that I bought off this company called console5.com. I'll have a link in the description below, but it's a capacitor kit for this particular motherboard. And it should have everything in here. I did take a look at it and it seems good. I mean, I've ordered from them in the past before and they've never let me down. So it'll replace every capacitor here. Now there's also 4 surface mounts. I kind of forget off the top of my head what those are for, whether it's for a later motherboard revision or if it's for the disk drive. So there probably will be some leftovers here. I think it's just a generalized kit. And then the other thing that I ordered was a new battery for here. Now this one definitely ain't going to be any good after 30 years anymore, so I'd be very surprised if that thing still has a charge. So I figured while we're in here, might as well replace it with a new one. Plus, I mean, it kind of looks like it's bulged a little bit, so while we're here, like I said, just best to get it replaced. So then hopefully when we're all done, everything will be completely refurbished here. So I guess where we should probably start is the capacitor that I removed before. Alright, so I have it matched up. And as always, remember the negative goes right, faces this little half moon thingy. Okay, so that's one replaced, so we got many more to go. So for the sake of time, and so this doesn't end up like an hour-and-a-half long video of me just replacing capacitors, we'll kind of montage through this, so enjoy! Alright, so we have only 2 more capacitors to replace. It's C522 and C521. Now this particular capacitor does have this resistor on here, so we will have to remove that first. Now there's one more thing that we have to address, and it's this battery. So we'll just flip the board over, and then we'll take it out. So this should really only go in one way. Alright, so I'm just gonna put a little solder on the tip because this thing's kind of like really flopping around here. So we can at least lock it in place. Can always touch up the joint in a minute. Alright, that should be good there. Alright, I think that should do it. Not bad. These are all the parts that were taken off, so there's quite a lot of capacitors on this thing, but I think just given the age, like I was saying before, I think this is going to be totally worth it in the end. Just get this thing back to how it was when it was new. So now all we got to do is clean all the flux off the board. So I got my 91% alcohol. We'll just spritz it down. This is just to start off with. I'm going to do one other thing to the board to try and get it nice and clean. So we'll just do this to start it off. So I had a viewer on one of my previous videos suggest these Kimtech wipes for me to clean off the flux on the board. For some reason, I don't know why I assumed that these were going to be wet wipes, but they're clearly not. So I guess brushing the whole board down with the alcohol and the toothbrush probably was kind of moot, so I guess we're going to be doing this again. And to who suggested it to me, sorry I don't remember who it was, but I do believe that they were a regular viewer, so if you're watching and you're kind of chuckling, or if I'm doing this wrong, please let me know in the comments. So I guess I just dab? Yeah, it seems like it's picking up. But yeah, any tips or tricks or anything like that, I'm always up to hear people's opinions in the comments. So if you have products or anything like that you like to use, definitely let me know. Because if it piques my interest enough, I will definitely feature it in a video like I'm doing right now. Yeah, so since I pretty much have probably just pushed all this flux around, I'm just gonna go through the whole board and kind of dab my way around. Yeah, I mean, it definitely looks like it's picking stuff up though, so that's pretty cool. I don't want to drag it across the board though, because I don't want to like damage anything, so I'm thinking if I just dab, it should be alright. Yeah, so this Kimtech wipes actually did a pretty good job on the bottom of the board. I must say, I think that that will be a permanent addition to my tool bench here. So the board's ready to go back in, but before I do that, I did not finish cleaning this case, so I am going to do that. And also my wife just got home, so I'm going to settle in for the night with her. So I will clean this up and we'll be back tomorrow to put this back in and see how we did. And we are back, so I guess all that's left to do now is to just start putting this back together. Should be pretty easy if I remember how everything goes. So I guess we'll start off here with the power supply. There's still a little bit of stuff in here. Let's give it a quick wipe down. And now the board goes in. And next, this controller port goes in. I guess we'll just put the fan in. And then these things just get plugged back in. Making progress. All right, now we have to put the shielding on, so we're going to start off by putting on this piece here in the back. Then the shield should go on top. And then I believe this will just slide underneath here. And just drop into place. Alright, so we have a whole bunch of little screws we gotta put in, so we'll just speed through this. And I have this turned around so you all can see it. You just got to put the buttons and then the LED thing back in. Good. I just need to do a quickie wipe down of the top shield here. It's still dirty from before. That should be good enough. Then we'll put the disc tray in. And then we got 4 screws around the sides there. And let's put this top shielding on and we should be good. Alright, so I haven't cleaned the shielding on the disk drive, but I'll get more into that later. So all we gotta really do is just put this on top. And we'll put the screws in after we test it. Okay, now the buttons are moving. Okay, now the moment of truth. We're still not getting any video signal. Alright, so we're here on my CRT TV. I don't know if you can pick it up on the mic, if it's picking up on the microphone, but it's making a buzzing noise. This thing's kind of on its way out and does need to be serviced, hopefully. But that's another time. But so I have it hooked up off camera. I did swap the cables on the bench and it didn't do anything. So I know these cables are good either way. So we'll flip it on and see what happens.
Eventually.
Well, it booted, but we're getting clearly no videos still, so yeah, definitely still have something else to look at here. The other thing I'm seeing too is when we hit it, it flashes, but I don't know if that's because it's sending some kind of signal, video signal, or if that's because the audio is tripping it, so it's doing the flash like it's got a source going in. I think it probably has more to do with the audio, actually. Well, that's unfortunate. I was really hoping that the recap would solve the issue, but alas, that was not the case. I mean, whether this worked or not, a recap was still something I was going to do anyway. These 3DOs do have a reputation for failing caps, especially at this age, so it's good that I have tried that first. So it begs the question, where do I go from here? Well, I gotta do a little more digging and see what is next for the troubleshooting to find the fault. My guess is that there's something along the video circuit that failed. I'm just really hoping it's not a chip. If anyone has any ideas, totally leave your thoughts in the comments below, and we can follow up with suggestions in a future video. Now as for the disk drive, remember when I said I didn't clean the shielding? The kit came with caps to recap the disk drive too, so I want to do that in a future video. And once more, thank you again for the continued support. I can't wait to see how this channel grows, and I have all of you to thank for it. So take care, and I'll see you on the next video.